Dear viewers, let us solve one more problem in the module 3 of the subject control engineering. We were dealing with the root locus technique in the previous sessions, and we have solved as many as about 6 problems. And now the problem which we will be taking up in this session, this is a problem where all the 10 rules, all the 10 guidelines to draw the root locus plot becomes applicable. The problem is, we are asked to draw the root locus and we need to comment on stability for the open loop transfer function 20 divided by s into s plus 4 into s square plus 4s plus 20. So, this is what is the transfer function given. Now, the very first step in the solution process is, see, we are given with the constant, we are not given with k in the numerator, we are given with an absolute integer, that is 20. Now, first what we will do is, we will assume that this 20 is equal to k. Reason being that if we are able to, if we are trying to draw the root locus plot with the data as 20 alone, then we will not be able to know the range of values of gain or range of values of k for which the system is going to be stable. For this reason, what we will do is, we will let 4s plus 20, and we have assumed 20 to be equal to k, and then what we will have done is s square plus 4s plus 20, what is present here, we will apply the formula to find the roots, that is minus b plus or minus root of b square minus 4ac formula we will apply, and then we will try to find the roots. The poles, which are nothing but the factors present in the denominator, we will find them to be, poles will be equal to 0, minus 4, minus 2 plus 4j, and minus 2 minus 4j will be the roots for this. So, those two also will become the poles. As we can see, there are no zeros present over here. How many poles are there? 4 poles are there, and the number of zeros z is equal to 0. Then, rule number 1, starting point. Obviously, all poles are the starting point, so all poles have been written here. Rule number 2 is about finishing points, that is k is equal to infinity points. All zeros are going to be the finishing points, and since there are no zeros over here, what we will have is, we will only have infinite zeros, that is infinity, comma, infinity, comma, infinity, comma, infinity. So, since there are 4 starting points, so there must be 4 terminating points. Since there are no finite zeros over here, so terminating points are not there in the given open loop transfer function, that is 0. So, all the branches of root loci will terminate at infinity. So, if there are 4 branches starting from 0, minus 4, minus 2, plus 4j, minus 2, minus 4j, then there will be 4 terminating points at infinity. Then, rule number 3 is about number of branches of root loci. So, number of branches of root loci, as we know, if number of zeros is greater than the number of poles, then the number of branches of root loci will be equal to number of zeros. Whereas here number of poles is 4, number of zeros is 0, because of which number of poles is greater than number of zeros. Therefore, the number of branches of root loci will be equal to number of poles, that is equal to 4. Then number of branches of root loci terminating at infinity, that will be given by the formula p minus z, that is 4 minus 0. So, all the 4 branches are going to terminate at infinity. Rule 4 is about symmetry. Now, if you just observe, if this is the S plane, if there is a pole at 0, there is a pole at minus 4, then there is a pole at minus 2 plus 4j, as we have just now found out. Then there is a pole at minus 2 minus 4j. Then if you just see, 2 poles are lying on the real axis and 2 more poles are lying in space, but they are equidistant from the real axis. One above the real axis, the other one is below the real axis. Because of which even though 2 poles are lying in space, but still they lie at equidistant, because of which the root loci, the branches of root loci will be symmetric about real axis. The axis of symmetry will remain the real axis. Then asymptotic straight lines, the angle of asymptotes is given by theta k, which is given by 2q plus 1 into 180 degree divided by P minus Z, where Q is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, etc., up to the modulus of P minus Z minus 1. So what we get, number of poles is 4, number of zeros is nil. So therefore what we get is 0, 1, 2, etc., up to 4 minus 0 minus 1. That means you need to start the value of K with 0, then 1, then 2, etc., up to whatever is present in this modulus. So we will get up to 3. Therefore, once we substitute the value of Q 0, when we substitute in place of Q, then we get theta naught is equal to 45 degree. When Q is equal to 1, theta 1 will be 135 degree. When Q is equal to 2, theta 2 will be 225 degree. When Q is equal to 3, it will be, theta will be equal to 315 degree. So as soon as we see these angles, 45 degree, 135 degree, 225 degree and 315 degree, then what we would come to know is, if we just assume where they lie, if suppose the centroid is also calculated here, say with this formula sigma Pi minus sigma Zi divided by P minus Z, and what we get over here is 0 minus 4 minus 2 plus 4j minus 2 minus 4j, then there are no zeros present. There are no zeros present over here, because of which what we will get, divided by P is 4, 0 is number of 0 is 0. So what we get there is minus 4j plus 4j, they get cancelled. Then minus 2 is minus 4, minus 4 is minus 8, minus 8 by 4 is minus 2. So centroid will be present at minus 2. Centroid will be present at minus 2. Okay. So if we just see, minus 2 is where the centroid is present, and then if we just try to mark or draw the asymptotic straight line roughly over here, 45 degree comes here, 135 here, 225 here and 315 here. If we just can see, if this is the S-plane and this is the imaginary axis, we can see the asymptotic straight line at 45 degree and asymptotic straight line at 315 degree, both of them are intersecting the imaginary axis and moving to the right half of S-plane. And as we know that the branches of root loci will travel along the asymptotic straight line, they approach asymptotic straight line, because of which when asymptotic straight lines are intersecting the imaginary axis and moving to the right half of S-plane, then obviously the branches of root loci are also going to intersect the imaginary axis and move to the right half of S-plane. And the moment they intersect the imaginary axis, the system becomes unstable. And as they move to the right half of S-plane, they become more and more unstable. Because of which what we can say is, it is important to know at this point what will be the value of K, so that in the design and analysis of any control system, in the design process, that is what is most important for an engineering graduate to know. What is the safe limits of input parameter for which the system will be stable. So in the design of any good control system, if we come to know what is the value of K and what is the frequency at which the system will just become unstable, we can avoid those frequencies and we can limit our system to only that amount of input, whatever we find it over here. So value of K is nothing but value of input or value of gain for which the system will become just unstable. So from starting from 0 up to that limit, if we give the input, if we just keep on adding the gain, the system continues to be stable. And the moment we reach the value of K, what we will find here, right? So the moment the system reaches that gain, the system becomes unstable. So that is why it is important to know what is the value of K at which the root locus will intersect the imaginary axis and what is the frequency at which it exists. So from this particular rule, by knowing the angle of asymptotes over here, we can definitely assess whether the rule intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, that is rule number 8, whether it is applicable or not. So now, since here we find that two asymptotic straight lines are going to intersect the imaginary axis and move to the right half of S-plane, therefore we can say that intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, the rule number 8 is applicable. Then Rule number 7, root loci on real axis. Root loci on real axis, if we just see over here, there is a pole here, there is a pole at -4. There is a pole at -2 plus J4. There is a pole at -2 minus J4. So as you can see, between these two, if we just see from here, see, this is the first pole, so you need to neglect. Then between -4 and 0 on the real axis, because the rule is about whether root locus is present on real axis or not. So on real axis we have got only 2 poles. So here you just keep, to the right you just see, on the real axis how many poles are there? There is only 1 pole. The count is odd, because of it what we can say is the root locus exists between -4 and 0. And why this arrow heading towards one another? Because this is also a starting point, this is also a starting point. Why? Because all poles are starting points. Now, the moment we look at this, then what we can say is, we can assess. See, 2 branches of root loci, one from 0, one plus -4 are starting, and they are heading towards one another. Once they are heading towards one another, they will collide at some point between -4 and 0. So what it means to say is, rule number 9, breakaway point is going to be applicable in this particular problem. So now, rule number 8, intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, and where they intersect, if we want to find, then we have to use the formula 1 plus GSHS equal to 0, that is characteristic equation equal to 0. If we do that, then it is just simplification, and coming here we will get this equation. Now we will have to replace S by J omega, that is what we have done over here. We know J is equal to root -1, J square is root -1 into root -1 is -1, J cube is minus J, J raised to 4 is 1. So we substituted that, then we separated real part and imaginary part. Then we know that at the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, if this is the root loci, and if this is the intersection point. Now if you just can see, at the intersection point, what will be the real part? See, we know that along on the imaginary axis, anywhere here from this plus infinity to minus infinity, plus J infinity to minus J infinity, anywhere the real part is going to be 0. Why? Only if you are either to the right or left of imaginary axis, there will be some count on the real axis. But exactly on the imaginary axis, anywhere from plus infinity to minus infinity, the real part is equal to 0. Imaginary part could be anything. Real part on this line will be 0. So that is what we are using here. At the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, real part will be equal to 0. Therefore, what does this equation become? 0 plus J into 80 omega minus 8 omega cube equal to 0. Then if you further simplify, we will get omega equal to 0, which is to be cancelled, and 80 minus 8 omega square equal to 0. Thereby we will get omega is equal to plus or minus 3.16. That means to say the point at which the root locus will intersect on the imaginary axis, it will be equal to omega equal to 3.16 above and omega equal to minus 3.16 below. That means to say this is J, right? J omega. So J 3.16 above and J minus J 3.16 below. That is where the root loci will be intersecting in imaginary axis. Then at this point, what will be the value of k? We know that real part is equal to 0 at the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis. So real part is what? Omega raised to 4 minus 36 omega square plus k. So that is what is equal to 0. And now we know omega value 3.16. Substitute there, you will get the value of k is equal to 260. That means at the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, omega is 3.16 and the value of k is 260. The gain is 260. The amount of input at which the root locus will intersect the imaginary axis, it is nothing but 260. That means you can keep giving the input parameter, right, to the system starting from 0 till 260, beyond which it will become unstable. Below 0 it will not work. So that means to say 0 less than k less than 260 is nothing but the condition for stability. Then where do the breakaway point exist? We know from rule number 7 that there will be breakaway point. Where will be the breakaway point existing? Now, if we just see, it is given by d by ds of GSHS equal to 0. If we just keep on differentiating it, and then we will come up to this particular level, that is 4s cube plus 24s square plus 72s plus 80 equal to 0. Then by trial and error method or even by using the calculator, you will come to know that this will give us 3 values actually. S is equal to minus 2 is 1, S is equal to minus 2 plus 2.4j, 2.45j, then S is equal to minus 2 minus 2.45j. 3 values of S we are going to get. Okay. So, how we can write here is, I will just write here S1, S2, and then there is one more value, S3 is equal to minus 2 minus 2.45j. This is what we get. 3 breakaway points we get. Whether they are applicable or not, we will just see that. Then we know that there are 2 complex poles, one at minus 2 plus 4j, the other one at minus 2 minus 4j. Then obviously angle of departure is going to be applicable. Angle of arrival will not be applicable because those are the poles, they are the starting points, they are not the zeros, because of which it will only be angle of departure applicable. And if you want to find angle of departure, how? If suppose this is the pole for which we are trying to find, say this is pole A, then if we are trying to find the angle of departure for pole A, then what we need to do is, all the poles we have marked, there is a pole at 0, there is a pole at minus 4, there is a pole at minus 2 plus 4j, there is a pole at minus 2 minus 4j. Okay. Join all the poles and zeros with this particular pole A. Then see, this is pole 1. This is pole 1. Okay. Pole 1, this is pole 2, this is pole 3. Let this be pole A itself. Okay. What we come to know, when we join all of them, then this becomes 5p1, 5p2 and 5p3. Try to find the angle that those lines join all the poles. This pole has been joined with A, this pole has been joined with A, this pole has been joined with A. This is the pole for which we are trying to find the angle of departure. Now, all the lines which we have joined with different poles, let us try to find what angle do they make with the horizontal. Okay, this pole, what angle does it make with this line? This pole, what angle does this make, the line making with the horizontal, what angle this makes? Now, 5p1, if you just see, if you want to find, this is 180 degree minus this angle. So, 180 degree minus this angle means tan inverse of, opposite to this side is, angle is 4. This is 2, opposite side is 4, the adjacent side is 2. So, tan inverse of this angle is tan inverse of 4 divided by 2, 180 minus tan inverse of 4 by 2, this is what we get, 116 degree. Then 5p2, this is a right angle, as soon as you see, this is a right angle. Then 5p3 again, this angle is nothing but tan inverse of opposite side by adjacent side, 4 divided by 2, this is what you get, 64 degree approximately. Because of which, what you will get over here is summation of all the poles, angle of all the poles, phase angle of all the poles will be 5p1 plus 5p2 plus 5p3, you will get 116 plus 90 plus 64, you will get 270 degree. There are no zeros, because of which summation of phi z will be equal to 0. And phi, we know that sigma phi p minus sigma phi z, that will be equal to 270 minus 0, we will get 270. Therefore, phi dA, angle of departure for this pole A, will be equal to, given by 180 minus 5, this is given by 180 minus 5, that is 180 degree minus 270 degree. So, this is given by minus 90. Similarly, since this pole is at equidistant from the real axis as this pole lies, because of which whatever will be the angle of departure for this pole, this will also be the same for this pole, but with the opposite sign. So, if it is minus 90 here, this will be with plus 90. Now, we have found the analytics for all the 10 rules to draw the root locus plot. Now, let us try to quickly mark and draw the root locus plot. There is a pole at 0, there is a pole at minus 4, there is a pole at minus 2 plus j4, there is a pole at minus 2 minus j4. Okay. Then at the centroid lies at minus 2. So, centroid is at minus 2, and then the asymptotic straight lines are to be drawn at from the centroid at one at 45 degree, one at 135, one at 225, and the other one is at 315 degrees. Then root loci on real axis, root loci lies between minus 4 and 0. So, from here and here they are the starting points. Then intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, it will be at j 3.16. So, first intersection will be at j 3.16, the other one will be at minus j 3.16. These are the points where the root loci is to be intersecting the imaginary axis. Okay. Then breakaway points are 3, that is minus 2. So, one breakaway point will be at minus 2, BAP1. Okay. Then angle of departure or arrival will be plus minus 90 degrees from this particular pole. So, draw a straight line, horizontal line over here, keep the protractor inverted, and along 90 degree draw a line, because it is along 90 degree. So, now if you just see from here, these two poles, these two branches of root loci are colliding at minus 2, they will leave it in this direction. Angle of departure of this pole, this branch of root loci will be along this one. So, along 90 degree, minus 90 degree. So, this is going to go like this, these are going to depart like this. So, what is another breakaway point? Minus 2 plus j 2.45. So, minus 2 plus j 2.45 lies over here. So, BAP2. So, therefore, what will happen is they will break away from this point, and how they will go? From here, this is the intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis. From here you draw a curve and then draw a line parallel to the asymptotic straight line, going till infinity. On this side also it will be symmetric, going till infinity. Then even on the downside also, this is going to depart, because one branch goes above and one below. So, this is going to go like this, and here also if you just see, draw a horizontal line, keep the protractor. What will be the direction angle of departure from this pole? It was plus 90. So, keep the protractor, measure plus 10, 20, 30 as such up to 90. So, 90 degree will be along this direction. So, from here, after breaking away from here, the branch is going down, and from this pole it is going up. So, because of which again there has to be a breakaway point. Where will that exist? That will exist at minus 2, minus 2.45j. So, it will be here, BAP3. So, from here if you just see, they will depart, and one branch after departing will go from here, intersect the imaginary axis at minus 3.16j and go along parallel to the asymptotic straight line. Similarly, on this side also. So, all the three breakaway points. So, this is BAP1, this is BAP2, and this is BAP3 becomes applicable. This is how the root locus plot will look like. So, all the 10 rules became applicable. We have even found out the value of k for which, the range of values of k for which the system is going to be stable. Dear viewers, let us solve one more variety of problem. That would be the last problem in these video sessions. The problem given to us is again a different of its kind. The problem says that the characteristic equation for a unity feedback system is given by Fs is equal to S cube plus 4S square plus 8 plus k into s plus 3k equal to 0. Draw the root locus plot for k is equal to 0 to infinity. As well, we need to determine the value of k for a damping ratio of 0.5. We have to start applying the procedure to make root locus, or maybe the Bode plot, or maybe the Nyquist plot. We need to start the procedure, their respective procedure, only when we ensure that the given system is brought to the open loop transfer function GSHS. The question may have been asked in any different form. It may be a block diagram circuit given to us, it may be a signal flow graph given to us, it may be a closed loop transfer function CS by RS given to us, or it may be like in the present question a characteristic equation which may have been given to us. We know that the characteristic equation for any closed loop transfer function or closed loop feedback system is given by 1 plus GSHS equal to 0. From that we have to derive the open loop transfer function, that is GSHS. So, we are all knowing that the characteristic equation, since it is a unity feedback system, Hs will be equal to 1. Therefore, the characteristic equation is given by 1 plus Gs Hs equal to 0, and since it is unity feedback system, it will be given by 1 plus Gs equal to 0. In the given characteristic equation, we will separate k terms in the Fs given. So, then what we will get is s cube plus 4s square plus, we will get 8s plus s plus 3 into k. This is what we will get, will be equal to 0. This is what we are going to get. Next step is multiply and divide by a polynomial in only s terms. What we will do is, we will divide and multiply this equation by a polynomial which is only in s terms. When we divide and multiply, it is neither adding nor subtracting to the given function. Therefore, what it gives us is 4s square plus 8s plus s plus 3 into k multiplied by s cube plus 4s square plus 8s. Multiplying and dividing the polynomial with only s terms, we are not taking k terms into consideration, equal to 0. This becomes 0. 0 if we take this numerator to the denominator on the other side, 0 by anything becomes 0. We will be left with only s cube plus 4s square plus 8s plus k into s plus 3 divided by s cube plus 4s square plus 8s equal to 0. Then we will find that this will give us 1 plus, because this term divided by s cube plus 4s square plus 8s divided by s cube plus 4s square plus 8s will give us 1 plus k into s plus 3 divided by this numerator. If we retain, then what we will get is s cube plus 4s square plus 8s equal to 0. This, if you just compare it with the given characteristic equation, then what we will get is, we will get to know that the open loop transfer function Gs, because this was GSHS, since it is a unity feedback, we are restricted to only Gs. So, open loop transfer function for a unity feedback system will only be Gs, that is given by Gs equal to, if we compare this equation and this, then it will give us k into s plus 3 divided by s cube plus 4s square plus 8s. This is what is the open loop transfer function. Now, what we have done is, from the given characteristic equation, we have derived the open loop transfer function. This is where we can start our solution. Now, here if you just see, GS again can be rewritten as k into s plus 3 divided by, if we take out s over here, s square plus 4s plus 8. This is what we are going to get. Now for this we can find the roots. How? What we will do is, this we can write it as k into s plus 3 divided by s into s minus s1 into s minus s2. Now consider the equation s square plus 4s plus 8. If we consider this equation, then if we apply the formula of minus b plus or minus root of b square minus 4ac divided by 2a, if we apply, then what we are going to get here is s1 comma 2 will be equal to minus 4 plus or minus root of b square is 4 square minus 4 into 1 into its 8 divided by 2 into 1, because a is 1, b is 4, c is 8. For what we will get is s1 will be equal to minus 2 plus j2 and s2 will be equal to minus 2 minus j2. So this is what we are going to get over here. Now the open loop transfer function can be written as s into s minus minus 2 plus j2 into s minus minus 2 minus j2, s into s minus minus 2 plus j2 is one root and s minus minus 2 minus j2 is another root. Now we have got the poles. Now we will start applying the root locus technique rules, the rules that are going to support us to evolve the analytics. So starting point for drawing the root locus, it will always be the poles, and poles are what? Poles are s equal to 0, s equal to s minus of minus 2 plus j2 equal to 0, s minus of minus 2 minus j2 equal to 0. So because of which what we can do is, starting point will be the poles, that will be s equal to 0, and for this s will be equal to minus 2 plus j2, and for this pole it will be s is equal to minus 2 minus j2. So total number of poles is 3, and what we can see over here, how many zeros are there? There is only one zero if you see the numerator. So total number of zeros will be 1. Okay, then finishing points. Finishing points are also called k equal to infinity points, and finishing points are nothing but the zeros of the given open loop transfer function. If you just observe over here, there is one zero, that is minus 3. So s is equal to minus 3, that will be 1 0. But if you can see, there are 3 poles, that means to say 3 branches of root loci are going to exist. Obviously, when there are 3 branches of root loci which are going to start from 3 poles, there have to be 3 terminating points also. But if you can see over here, there is only one finite zero, that is s is equal to minus 3. Right? That means to say only one branch of root loci evolving from any of these poles will start and terminate at minus 3. But what about other 2 branches which are starting from the remaining poles? So they will be terminating at infinity. That is why what we call those branches of root loci which will terminate at infinity, those points are called infinite zeros. So infinite zeros is given by p minus z, that is given by 3 minus 1. So 2 branches of root loci are going to terminate at infinity. So 2 infinite zeros will be there, infinity comma infinity. Then how many branches of root loci will exist? This is given by capital N. So capital N number of branches of root loci will be equal to P if the number of poles is more than number of zeros. And if number of zeros is more than number of poles, then the number of branches of root loci will be equal to number of zeros. Whereas in the given problem, number of poles is 3, number of zeros is 1, so 3 is greater than 1. That means number of poles is greater than number of zeros. Therefore, number of branches of root loci will be equal to the number of poles, that is equal to 3. Since capital P, number of poles is greater than number of zeros, that is 3 greater than 1. Now, number of branches of root loci terminating in infinity is given by P minus Z, that is 3 minus 1, 2. So, number of branches of root loci terminating at infinity, it is equal to 2. 2 branches of root loci are going to terminate at infinity. Symmetry, let us see, let us try to just say if this is the S plane, there is a pole at 0, there is a pole at minus 2, minus 2 plus J2, minus 2 minus J2, and there is a 0 at minus 3. If you can just see over here, a 0 and a pole are existing on the real axis, and then two complex poles are there. One is at minus 2 plus J2, the other is at minus 2 minus J2. In spite of these two poles lying in space, but still from the real axis, if you just measure their distances, they will be at equal distances. Above the real axis, this pole is located at J2, and below the real axis, this pole is located at minus J2. Because of which, what we can say is, even though two complex poles are there, but still they lie at equal distances from the real axis, one above and the other one below, because of which the root loci will be symmetric about real axis. That means the axis of symmetry is going to be the real axis. This is why what we will write, the root loci is symmetric about real axis. Then rule number 5, angle of asymptotes. The formula is present here, 2q plus 1 into 180 divided by P minus Z, where P and Z are the number of poles and number of zeros. So, where Q is given by 0, 1, 2, etc., up to modulus of P minus Z. So, what is P? It is number of poles, it is 3. What is Z? It is number of zeros, that is 1, and minus 1 as it is. Therefore, 3 minus 1 is 2, modulus of 1, we will be left with only modulus of 1. What it means to say is, the value of Q to be substituted here, it has to be 0, 1, 2, etc., up to modulus of 1. That means we have to go only up to 1. So, Q must be given with only 0 and 1 as its values to be replaced in the formula for angle of asymptotes. So, theta at 0, it is given by 2 into Q is equal to 0, we will substitute first, 2 into 0 plus 1 into 180 degree divided by number of poles is 3, number of zeros is 1, 3 minus 1. So, what we are going to get is 2 into 0 is 0, so 1 into 180, 1 is 180 divided by 3 minus 1 is 2, 180 by 2 will be 90 degrees. Similarly, if you substitute value of Q as 1 over here, you are going to get 270 degrees. Now, what important inference you can draw from here is, see, one asymptotic straight line is going to travel at 90 degree, the other one is going to travel at 270 degree. It means to say, one above the real axis, one below the real axis, but both of them will go parallel to the imaginary axis. They are not going to intersect the imaginary axis and move to the right half of S plane. When asymptotic straight lines are not intersecting the imaginary axis and they don't move to the right half of S plane, therefore, the root loci, the branches of root loci also don't intersect the imaginary axis and move to the right half of S plane. Why? Because as we know that by the concepts of root locus technique, the branches of root loci will approach or they will travel along the asymptotic straight line. So, at whatever angle the asymptotic straight lines will lie on the same angle, on the same lines, along the same lines, even the branches of root loci will also be moving. So, because of which, when they are not going to intersect the imaginary axis and move to the right half of S plane, even the branches of root loci, they also don't travel to the to intersect the imaginary axis, and even they don't go to the right half of S-plane, because of which rule number 8, intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis, becomes not applicable. So, what we will do is, since root loci does not intersect the imaginary axis or j omega axis in S plane, this rule is not applicable. Very important inference to be drawn. Then, since one asymptotic straight line is at 90 degree, the other one is at 270 degrees. So, obviously, it means to say these two asymptotic straight lines are going to leave the real axis. From what point on real axis do they leave the real axis? That is to be known. That is given by the centroid, and it is given by the formula sigma pi, or summation of all the poles minus summation of all the zeros, divided by the number of poles minus number of zeros. So, summation of all the poles means what? How many poles are there? You can see 0 plus of minus 2 plus j2 plus of minus 2 minus j2. These are the poles we have got. And then how many zeros do you have? You have got only one zero, that is only minus 3, divided by number of poles is 3, number of zeros is 1. So, plus j2 minus j2 goes, minus 2 is minus 4, minus 4 minus of minus 3 is plus 3, minus 4 plus 3 is minus 1, minus 1 divided by 3 minus 1 is 2, minus 1 by 2 is minus 0.5. So, centroid exists at minus 5 on the negative real axis. Then root loci on real axis. If you just see, if suppose this is the S plane, there is a pole at 0, then there is a 0 at minus 3, there is a pole at minus 2 plus j2, there is a pole at minus 2 minus j2. Then we are trying to find whether there is any root locus present on the real axis alone. Then what we can see is, if we just keep our hand over here, to the right if you just see, then what we will find is the count is odd. On the real axis, there is only one pole present. So, what we will say is, we have to assess only the real axis, because the rule clearly says root loci on the real axis only. On real axis, do you have any root locus present? So, all the poles and zeros that are present only on the real axis, that must be accounted for this. So, between minus 3 and 0, only this is the segment on real axis which has got poles and zeros. The count is odd. Therefore, root locus is present. Where it is present? Between minus 3 and 0. So, that means to say that between minus 3 and 0, root locus is present. Here itself you can see, this is a pole, obviously root locus will be leaving the pole. And this is a 0, obviously root locus will be terminating at a 0. So, the arrow will be towards minus 3, and from 0 arrow will be leaving 0, because that is a pole, it is a starting point, minus 3 is a 0, that is a terminating point. So, one of the branch has started at 0, ended at minus 3, that is one conclusion. So, here from this particular rule, if we observe, one very important inference we can draw. What is that inference? See, if you can just see over here, at no instance of time the root locus is colliding. There is no collision of root locus or root loci. These two branches, they are not heading towards one another. One branch is starting at 0, the branch is terminating at minus 3. So, there is no collision happening. When there is no collision happening, obviously there is no breakaway point existing on the real axis. So, therefore, what we can say is, rule number 9, that is breakaway or saddle point, right, breakaway or saddle point, it does not apply. Why? Because there is no collision of root loci due to which this rule is not applicable. This rule is not applicable. So 9 rules are over. Then let us see rule number 10, whether it is applicable or not. In the given problem, as we can see over here, after we have derived the problem to the verge of open loop transfer function, we found that there are two complex poles, one at -2 plus J2, the other one is at -2 minus J2. That means to say, whenever there are complex poles, obviously the angle of departure is applicable. Why it is applicable when complex poles are existing is because, see, when complex poles or zeros are there, then obviously they are lying in space. When they are lying in space, if it is a pole, complex pole, then the root locus, the branch of root loci that will start from that complex pole, in which direction, at what angle they must leave the pole, it is not known. Whereas, if a pole or a zero is lying on real axis, obviously it will leave on the real axis. Whereas, in complex pole situation, since they will be lying in space, we will not be knowing at what angle the root locus is departing if it is a complex pole, or at what angle the root locus is going to terminate if it is a complex zero. Here in this case, complex poles are present, because of which we need to find the angle of departure. At what angle the branch of root loci is going to leave the pole, the complex pole. That is what we are supposed to find. So, to find this, what we will do here first is, so this is S plane, this is a pole, then -1, -2 and -3, J1, J2 and J3, -J1, -J2, -J3, if this is the S plane and this is the marking. Okay. Now, at 0 there is a pole, at -3 there is a 0, at -2 plus J2 there is a pole, at -2 minus J2 there is a pole. What we will do is, we will first try to find the angle of departure for this pole. We will name this pole as A, this as P1, this as P2 and this as Z1. This is a 0, so Z1. Then next what we need to do is, we will join all the poles and zeros with this pole for which we are trying to find the angle of departure. So what I will do is, with straight line I will connect this pole with pole A, I will connect pole 2 with pole A, I will connect Z1, 0 Z1 with pole A. Then what we will do after this, with the horizontal line, we will try to know what is the angle these are making. Phi P2 we will try to find, Phi P1 we will try to find, and Phi Z1 we will try to find. Phi Z1 we will try to find. Okay. Now, what is Phi P1? Phi P1, this angle will be equal to 180 minus this angle. Am I right? So, 180 degree minus x we will write. Then what is that x? 180 degree minus x is given by tan inverse of opposite side by adjacent side, that is 2 by 2. This is given by tan inverse of 2 by 2 is tan inverse of 1, tan inverse of 1 is 45 degree. So, 180 minus 45 degree will give us 135 degrees. Then Phi P2, as it appears, we can straight away write the angle, it is 90 degree, this angle. Then what we will get? Summation of all the angles of poles will be given by sigma phi P is equal to phi P1 plus phi P2. This is given by 135 degree plus 90 degree. This is given by 225 degrees. Then phi z1 is given by, see this angle, how much it can be? Opposite side by adjacent side. Tan inverse of opposite side is 2, this one. Adjacent side is from -2 to -3, it will be only 1. Tan inverse of 2 you are going to get. And this, I suppose it is given by 63.43 degrees. Okay. Then, since there is only one 0, so even summation of z1 will be also equal to phi z1, that is given by 63.43 degrees. Now, phi is given by sigma phi p minus sigma phi z, that is given by 225 degree minus 63.43 degrees. This is given by 161.56 degrees. Then, therefore, angle of departure of pole A is given by 180 degree minus phi, which is given by 180 degree minus 161.56 degree, which is given by 18.44 degrees. 18.44 degrees. This is positive. Similarly, since we know the concept that we have already declared here in rule number 4 that the root loci will be symmetric about real axis. Whatever will be the angle of departure for pole A, the same angle of departure with opposite sign will be for pole 2 over here. So, angle of departure for pole 2, it will also be equal to 18.44 degrees, but with a negative sign. This is what we have already calculated. Okay. Now, let us try to draw the root locus plot over here. And from here, one very important conclusion what we can draw from here, rule number 8 is, since the root locus is not at all intersecting the imaginary axis, for any value of k, the system is going to be stable. This is one very important conclusion, we will write it here. So, we will draw the root locus plot over here. One thing must be taken care, the root locus plot need to be drawn in a graph sheet. It has to be drawn in a graph sheet. Okay. So, this is S plane, this is positive real axis, this is negative real axis, this is positive imaginary axis, this is negative imaginary axis, 1, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, minus 4, J1, J2, J3, minus J1, minus J2, minus J3, etc. And this is at 0. Now, we know that, let us try to take the analytics we have written and try to draw the root locus plot. See here, the poles that we have got here will be 0, minus 2 plus J2, minus 2, minus J2. So, at 0 there is a pole, at minus 2 plus J2 there is a pole, at minus 2 minus J2 there is a pole, minus 2 plus J2 there is a complex pole, minus 2 minus J2 there is a complex pole. Then there is a 0 at minus 3, there is a 0 at minus 3. We will write it with a different chalk itself. There is 0, small circle denotes a 0. Then root loci is symmetric about real axis. Asymptotic straight lines are along 90 degree and 270 degree. They emerge from the centroid minus 0.5. So, minus 0.5 comes here. So, centroid is at minus 0.5. So, from here the asymptotic straight lines will emerge. One asymptotic straight line will go at 90 degree, the other one will go at 270 degrees. Okay. So this is a centroid at minus 0.5. Then root loci on real axis between minus 3 and 0, it is odd, so root locus is present. So between minus 3 and 0, root locus is present. I will darken this. Root locus is present. And we know root locus will start from a pole, so arrow will be leaving the pole. Root locus terminates at a 0, so arrow will be terminating to the 0 minus 3. 0, that is minus 3. Then intersection of root loci does not exist. Breakaway point does not exist. Then angle of departure for this pole, the angle of departure is found to be 18.44 degrees. So from here I will write as thin line, horizontal line. Keep the protractor in its normal fashion. Then measure 0, 5, 10, 18 degrees. It may come along this line. So this may be the angle. So phi d a 18.44 degrees. And then since it is not going to intersect the imaginary axis, where we take the turn so that it could go along this asymptotic straight line, that does not become very, very important. So what we will do is, from here we will start, since it is a pole, arrow will be leaving it. 18.44 degrees is the line we have drawn here. So from there we will start, we will go by some distance and then we will take a curve and then start leaving it. Where is it going? It is going till infinity. Branch of root loci which has started here on this pole, it has gone along 18.44 degrees and then took a turn and started going parallel to the asymptotic straight line. Because we know that the root loci will always travel parallel to the asymptotic straight line or along asymptotic straight line. And even on the downside also, what we will do, this is pole 2, we will write inverted protractor we will keep. Minus 18.44 degree is here. Similarly, I forgot to write, similarly. So along minus 18.44 degree inverted protractor if we write, 10, 5, 10, 15, 18 if we draw, then 18.44 minus 18.44 degree comes here. So phi dp 2, I will write, and then from here a branch of root loci will start, because this is also a pole. It will travel by some distance, take a turn. It should also be a curve, it should not be a straight line, and then it has to be drawn with the curve arrow moving, taking the branch of root locus till the infinity. So this completes the root locus plot. See, from 0 a branch has started, it has got terminated at minus 3. From minus 2 plus j2 pole A, it has started, it has gone to the infinity. From minus 2 minus j2, that is pole 2, it has started, it has gone till infinity again. Okay. This completes the root locus plot. Now, very important conclusion what we can draw is, since root locus is not crossing the imaginary axis to move to RHS of S plane, the system is stable for all values of k. This is very important conclusion that we can draw. Now let us focus on the extended part of the question. With that plot, we have completed the solution till here. Now we need to determine the value of k for a damping ratio of 0.5. What is given to us is damping ratio of 0.5, zeta is equal to 0.5. What we will do here is, the procedure is, we need to draw a line. Draw a line at theta is equal to cos inverse of zeta. So that means, that is, theta is equal to cos inverse of 0.5, which will give me 60 degrees, which will give me theta is equal to 60 degrees. Now what we will do is, from the origin, keep the protractor at the origin, measure an angle 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, and then draw a straight line from the origin onto the root locus plot. Okay. Draw a line at theta is equal to cos inverse of zeta, that is 60 degrees we got, from origin of S plane to the root locus plot. Then the point where the line meets the root locus is the value of S, So what we have to do, we have to draw a line from here at 60 degrees. So we draw, in the graph sheet it must be drawn. So we will draw from here at 60 degrees, and wherever it meets, we will name this point as, say, M. We will name this point as M. Then when we name this point as M, so that is what is the point where we need to measure the value in the graph sheet. At M, the value of S will be equal to, if you have to draw it in the graph and measure according to our solution, the point where this straight line meets the root locus plot is M. At this point, what will be the coordinates is, it will be minus 1.2 plus j 2.3, minus 1.2 plus j 2.3, that is the value. Now what we will do is, we will try to find the modulus of the given open loop transfer function, and we will try to equate it to 0. So what is the given problem here? Let us take it from here itself. Modulus of k into S plus 3 divided by S into S minus of minus 2 plus j2 into S minus of minus 2 minus j2 will be equal to 0. This is the condition you have to apply. Sorry, 1. This is the condition we need to apply. Okay. Now, at M is equal to, at the point M, the value of S is equal to minus 1.2 plus j 2.3. That is what we have found over here. We need to substitute that in the S, in place of S in the given modulus. So therefore, what we will get over here is modulus of k, then modulus of, in place of S we will write minus 1.2 plus j 2.3. So minus 1.2 plus j 2.3 plus 3 as it is, divided by minus 1.2 plus j 2.3 modulus again, then again under the modulus minus 1.2 plus j 2.3 minus of minus 2 plus j 2 we will write as it is under the modulus, then minus 1.2 plus j 2.3 minus 2 minus j3 as it is we will write. Then we will come to know that this will give us modulus of k. 3 minus 1.2 is, it is 1.8 minus 1.8 plus j 2.3 divided by minus 1.2 plus j 2.3, then minus into minus plus 2 minus 1.2 will be 0.8, then plus j 2.3 minus j2 it will be 0.3, so minus j into 0.3 is what we are going to get over here. Then for this again minus into minus plus 2 minus 1.2, so 0.8, then plus j 2.3 minus j, sorry, this is to be j2. So this will give us 2.3 plus minus into minus is plus, so this will give us 4.3j plus j into 4.3. This is what we are going to get. That will. We know that to find the modulus, what we can do is modulus of 1.8 plus j 2.3 is given by root of real part square plus imaginary part square. So minus 1.8 whole square plus 2.3 whole square. So if we start calculating the modulus for each of these terms, then we will come to know that modulus of k will be equal to 3.3. Modulus of k will be equal to 3.3. How you will arrive at this point is just like I have shown over here. This modulus, if you want to find the modulus, root of real part square plus imaginary part square, if you find, you will get some value. For this also you need to do the same exercise, for these two also you need to do the same exercise. Then you will substitute the value, then cross multiplication if you carry out, then you will find modulus of k is equal to 3.3. That means to say that at the damping ratio zeta is equal to 0.5, the value of k will be at zeta is equal to 0.5, the value of k will be equal to 3.3. This is what is the final solution. So here in this problem we have applied all the 10 rules. Rule number 8 and 9 are not applicable. We have also found the answer for the extended part of the question. So with this we have covered all the varieties of problems that are related to root locus technique, and I am sure that we have gone through the extensive understanding about which rule is applicable, and when carrying out the findings of several rules, like if we know the angle of asymptotes, we will be able to know whether intersection of root loci with the imaginary axis will be applicable or not. If we find the root loci on real axis, then we will be able to know whether breakaway point rule is applicable or not. So as such, while carrying out the learning of these problems, about 8 problems in detail, we have come to know which rule will be applicable when, which should be sufficient to solve almost all the varieties of root locus technique related problems. Thank you.